another week, another scandal in Ottawa. Or is it scandals plural, given that the pathetic reaction to the federal Liberals regarding Nazigate is also downright scandalous? Good golly, it seems like it was only yesterday that the scandal du jour was Chinese electoral interference. Oh, wait a minute, what am I saying? That was 2 scandals ago, given that India fiasco Roman numeral 2 was consuming copious quantities of oxygen. But the India idiocy has been pushed to the scandal back burner, and wow, that back burner is surely groaning with the weight of so many previous scandals, wouldn't you say? In fact, it's actually hard to keep count of them all, isn't it? Yet, say what you will about Justin Trudeau, this guy has more lives than a cat. Not only does he like to cover his body with blackface makeup, but apparently he also has a layer of Teflon on his epidermis, given that nothing seems to stick to this guy. Then again, if the mainstream media did its job and held this guy to account, maybe things would be, a wee bit different in the accountability department. Did I mention that the mainstream media is actually funded by Sugar Daddy Trudeau these days? But that glaring conflict of interest, well, that's a story for another day. Incidentally, for those keeping track of the latest Liberal scandal, and yes, folks, this is indeed a Herculean task given the frequency of those aforementioned scandals. The most recent one occurred last Friday in the House of Commons when History 101 challenged MPs served up a standing ovation in Parliament for one Yaroslav Hunka. Here, check out the video evidence.
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian-Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98. His name is Yaroslav Hunka. And I was going to say he's in the gallery, but I think you beat me to that. But I'm very proud to say that he is from North Bay and from my riding of Nipissing-Temiskaming. He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service.
Oopsie. Sorry, folks. Wrong clip. Here, check it out.
Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Hunka is a World War II veteran. Normally, that would be a jolly good thing indeed, to honor a vet with passionate ovations, except for one teeny tiny inconvenient detail. Hunka fought for the enemy during World War II. Yikes. As just about the entire world knows by now, Hunka is a former Nazi soldier, a veteran of the brutal Waffen-SS 1st Galatian Division. These were very nasty Nazis indeed, killing civilians and committing war crimes. The fact that Hunka somehow legally immigrated to Canada is appalling enough, but for this creep to receive a standing O in the House of Commons, well, that's truly beyond the pale. In the aftermath, the Liberals have been in damage control mode, again, for the past week. The first tangible casualty was Speaker of the House, Anthony Rota. Rota invited Hunka to Parliament, and Rota boasted how this proud Canadian lives in Rota's Northern Ontario riding. By the way, the origin of this invite is one of the many unanswered mysteries pertaining to Nazigate. Apparently, it was the Hunka family that reached out to Mr. Rota, suggesting that it would make for a whiz-bang photo op to have Hunka Sr. lauded in the House of Commons when Zelensky dropped by for a fundraiser, a visit. So the question arises, what in blue hell was the Hunka family thinking? I mean, just 6 days ago, this retired SS Nazi was living a nice, quiet life up in North Bay, watching the fall colors take place. Given that this individual would have been a prime candidate for the hangman's noose once upon a time, you'd think Herr Hunka would keep a low profile, that he would stay out of the public limelight and keep his Nazi mouth shut. You know, embrace the Sergeant Schultz communications policy.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
Did the Hunka family not consider that in this day and age of the internet, people might do a little investigating on the Googler machine and dredge up some really embarrassing details on Sergeant Hunka, or whatever his rank was? Not that the mainstream media could be bothered to do so last week, mind you. It was my beloved big boss man, Ezra Levant, that got the Nazi-gate ball rolling last weekend by simply doing some basic mathematics. Which is to say, if someone is fighting against the Russians prior to May 8th, 1945, that means you were on the wrong side of history. Indeed, check out this clip of Rhoda introducing Hunka last Friday. Watch for a pregnant pause. Was it suddenly just dawning on Rhoda himself that, the chronology, it's not adding up here?
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian-Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians.
Did you see that? It was as if the speaker had an epiphany in mid-sentence that Hunka was fighting against an allied nation in World War II. It's as though Rhoda was having a oops, I forgot to carry the one moment when it dawned on him that it was not a good thing to be killing Russians when Hunka was killing them, because the Soviet Union was at war with Nazi Germany as well. Unbelievable. Alas, the entire Hunka family is apparently hiding out in their North Bay bunker right now. Geez, as they batten down the hatches, maybe they can read the Diary of Anne Frank regarding tips on how to avoid unwanted attention. Yet having Hunka in the House of Commons and lauding him was egregious enough. But the sordid way this scandal was addressed by the blackface Liberals when it came to crisis management and damage control also emerged as a scandal unto itself. You see, I'm old enough to remember when an elected official would automatically apologize and resign if there was even a mere whiff of a scandal. And I remember a time when simply billing the taxpayer for a $16 glass of orange juice was reason enough to walk the political plank. But it was painful to see Rhoda cling on to his position, even when his fellow Liberals were getting their knives out, Julius Caesar assassination style. Yet it took until Tuesday afternoon before Mr. Rhoda submitted his resignation. Sorry, Tony, I'm sure you're a nice guy and a good family man and all that jazz, but a sacrificial lamb was desperately needed. And you don't think Blackface was going to volunteer himself to be thrown into the volcano virgin style, do you? Speaking of Blackface, as with all political scandals, it all boils down to who knew what when. And the idea that Yaroslav Hunka was not vetted prior to Friday's visit to the House is absolutely preposterous. Let's take inventory of the facts. The House of Commons was in session. The Prime Minister and the leaders of the opposition parties were also in the House. A visiting head of state who just happens to be the world's #1 assassination target, he was in the House. Are you telling me that everyone in attendance that day was not double-checked, triple-checked, and quadruple-checked?
I find that hard to believe.
And if that due diligence was not conducted, folks, if the Prime Minister's henchmen simply couldn't be bothered to carry out this task, well, that also qualifies as an outrageous and egregious scandal. And much like the India fiasco, this story makes for yet another international black eye for Canada. You can almost feel our credibility as a nation simply ebbing away by the hour.